Welcome to another meditative watercolor session. Today we are painting these beautiful chestnuts. This is part of my watercolor series and today's featured color is brown. As always, we'll begin with an intention and end with a reflection. This is the reference image I have taken. Brown is a color that reminds us of the earth's stability and quiet strength that can be found even in changing seasons. For this painting, I'm using Sap Green, Alizarin Crimson, raw Umber burnt Sienna, permanent orange, green gold, as well as neutral tint for deep shadows. Before we begin, I should mention that I accidentally forgot to record layer 1, which is the base painting. So I don't have that part to show you, but don't worry because layer 1 and 2 follow the same process. The only difference is that the value of the pigments for layer 1 is very light. So as we move through layer 2 together, I want you to simply repeat the same steps for layer 1 as well with lighter values. The intention of today's painting is staying grounded. Now let's begin with the chestnuts. I'm deepening the color using alizarin crimson first, then slowly adding raw umber to create depth. In the darkest areas, I'm also using a little neutral tint. Rather than painting with one flat brown, I'm building the form through layers. You'll also notice me adding permanent orange wherever the light touches the chestnut. That small touch of warmth makes such a difference and gives a chestnut a smooth, rounded, glossy look. In the second layer, I have started deepening the shadows using raw umber here and also a touch of neutral tint so that we don't have all the pigments mixed and giving us a new color, just retaining the pigments values and just giving us a deeper shade of that. Once we finish the first chestnut, we will move on to the second chestnut. I'm going to share why I chose this reference here. Usually I paint fresh flowers or leaves or fruits, but this time I felt drawn towards dry leaves. I realized they reflected the season while I'm moving through, and sometimes life can feel very vibrant, full of new beginnings, but sometimes it feels slower, quieter, almost coming to a end of a phase. So I've realized that the subjects we choose to paint often reflect something we are experiencing within ourselves. Whether we realize it or not, our creativity often mirrors our inner world. And choosing to be grounded no matter what our life situation is was perfect for this painting. Now let's move on to the shell. I found that more than painting the chestnuts, painting the shell was my favorite part. While the surface is still wet, I continue dropping burnt sienna into the darker areas. Wherever the light catches the shell, I add little green gold. Don't worry too much about matching every color from the reference image perfectly. Observe the reference, choose the colors you'd see, and trust your eye, allow yourself to respond creatively. The most challenging part here is painting around the spikes. I recommend using a size 0 brush because we are not actually painting the spikes, we are doing negative painting, carefully painting around them. This texture comes from preserving those sharp edges. This section took me the longest because every spike needed that attention. I had to deepen the shadows where each spike emerged, keep the edges crisp, and slowly build the rough texture of the shell. It required patience, but I didn't mind spending time here. Sometimes the parts that ask the most patience becomes our favorite parts. The third layer follows exactly the same process. I'm simply strengthening the values and increasing the contrast. So in a gist, layer 1, 2, 3 are all same. The spikes are painted at the later end of the painting. That time you will see that the spikes, certain areas are left white, certain areas catch a little bit of brown and green gold where light catches them. The bottom part of the chestnut's shell it didn't require a lot of combination of sap green. It was simply raw umber mixed with a little bit of burnt sienna. But here again, we have spikes and we are carefully choosing to negative paint, retaining the crisp edges and the sharp outlines. And you will see me the space between the chestnut and the shell is of have to have a very clear division, because we don't want to show that it is completely risen from the shell. It has to have a little bit of depth and separation. So there I also invested a good amount of time, again using the size 0 brush and having that division. The upper part of the shell again wanted that attention to mix sap green and raw umber, placing the values exactly around the spikes and giving that lighter values wherever necessary. Sometimes, when you're doing work that requires deep focus, something beautiful begins to happen, which is what happened to me here. Your attention slowly moves away from the endless stream of thoughts and the constant noise in your mind. For a few moments, there is a sense of space, a quiet gap between your thoughts, and in that gap, you begin to reconnect with your inner peace. That's one of the greatest gifts art has given me. And of course, art isn't the only path to that experience, but since we're all here as artists and creators, I really encourage you to choose paintings that ask for your full attention. Paintings that gently invite you to slow down, be present, and immerse yourself in the process. As you paint consistently and choose subjects that truly speak to you, you'll naturally begin looking forward to those moments of creating. Over time, painting becomes more than a hobby, it becomes a space where your mind grows quieter, your creativity awakens, and you simply enjoy being present. This is why I always ask you all to segment out 15 minutes at the start of your day, early morning, whenever you get up. Have your coffee or tea and separate that slot, prioritize art, and get connected with yourself. I've started painting the spikes and it required a little bit of burnt sienna, also with a touch of sap green, also using the same brush, maintaining the crisp edges, and not all spikes are the same. So, also maintaining that natural look of the shell. Now you will see me adding fine details inside the shell using permanent orange and burnt sienna, softening it with a little bit of water and bringing down that variant of color. I didn't spend too much time on the dry leaves because I wanted the chestnuts to remain the focal point of this painting. I'm going to share my reflection moving forward. And as I painted this shell, one thought stayed with me. The outside is rough, sharp, protective, and yet inside it holds something smooth, delicate, and beautiful, right? So it reminds me that sometimes we build ourselves walls for life situations to protect us. Perhaps it's okay, but beneath those walls, we are still vulnerable, we are still kind, we are still hopeful. Some of us are fortunate enough to have people that whom we can share that vulnerability. Some of us aren't. Either way, I think the first step isn't removing the wall. It's simply becoming aware that it's there. The upper part of the spikes are left and I am completing that. And after that is finished, this is how the output looks. This is after applying the layer 3, increasing the values of the exact same pigments we have used. And yeah, so I really hope that this painting session was useful to you and the intention was something that you could relate. I encourage you to dedicate those 15 minutes for you every day, and I'll see you in the next meditative watercolor session. Thank you.